Photoclub. Fasten your seatbelts. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so Kathy's out of town. She was good enough to put together this agenda for me, and so I'll be using that. Let me do something here. I'm afraid. Well, yeah, that's going to be okay. Let's just go ahead with that. A couple of things. She always starts the meeting off with some notices. Sound on the microphone is pretty important, especially when the speaker is speaking. Try not to blast them away with the sounds of dogs and kids and stuff like that. And I speak to myself as well as you guys, because I do have a little dog that seems to like to come in here once in a while and tell me what for. Anyways, so you can mute. There's bottom left of your screen. There's an audio thing that says speaker. You can mute yourself. And then, but you can unmute yourself also by just hitting the space key if you are muted. And sometimes, by the way, if there is a lot of noise, I might mute you, whether you may not. If you're all of a sudden muted, it's because I hit the mute button on you. And it's not an insult. It's just because we were having trouble hearing something. And Bill, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Can you open up the meeting with your prayer?
Yes, yes. Dear Lord, as we come here tonight, we're reminded that we have so much to be thankful for. A great country, a great state, a great community. And of course, we're thankful for the Kingwood Photoclub, which has provided inspiration and instruction for many years to the community. We pray that you will continue to guide us and inspire us in our photographic efforts to capture the beauty of your great universe. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks a lot. Pam Walton's not here. Also, Pam's in Switzerland, I believe. And we do have a new member here tonight, I believe, Etta. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. Also, we have Jenny Chuck as well.
Okay, and Jenny. Okay, so we do have some new members. You were just talking to them. Do want to say welcome and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Chuck, this is Bill Patterson. We have another new member that's joining us tonight too, Kevin Morris, first time.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm sorry.
He joined last month, but he didn't make it last meeting, so it's his first meeting he was on tonight.
Well, good. Well, thank you for joining us also. This is great. Yeah, the more, but we need to make sure we get good attendance in these things. I do appreciate the new members coming right out and joining us. I hope you guys find this entertaining and useful. And let us know what else we can do better. If you have some ideas, especially with your fresh eyes, if there's something we might be able to do better, let us know. The Hat Man, John Gray.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm in Connecticut tonight, Chuck.
Okay, so the remote Hat Man.
We still have some hats that are available for sale, $25 a piece, 2 different colors. Go to the website, order it, and we'll work with you to get it delivered to you.
Good. Yeah, there, I can testify that's a good hat. I've got the brown one. I like it.
That's neat.
Thank you. Connie, you want to go ahead and introduce the speaker, and then we can turn this over to the speaker.
All right. Tonight, our speaker is Ruth Hoyt. She last shared her talents with us back in 2019. So I wanted to, up front, from me personally, to thank her for agreeing to speak with our club tonight. Her passion is sharing her love of nature and photography with everyone she meets, especially youth. She has years of experience as a professional photography contest director, a youth photo workshop leader, a professional coach for contest photographers, and a consultant for farm and ranch owners. She claims when you love your work, it isn't work. Ruth is not only a professional photographer and guide, but she's a photography teacher for 30 plus years and a Texas master naturalist and a certified interpretive guide for 10 plus years. An active Outdoor Writers Association of America member, she writes her Set Up for Success column for the Journal of Wildlife Photography. So now please sit back and take a virtual trip with Ruth as she shows photos and talks about the birds and wildlife she has seen and photographed on trips to Costa Rica. Please welcome Ruth Hoyt.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. Give me just a second. I hope you see my title slide. It should say Photographing Birds of Costa Rica with Ruth Hoyt.
Yes,
And
I
it
see.
shows my Instagram account name, which is Ruth Hoyt Photo. So let's start the program. I'm going to say, let's experience Costa Rica. And I like to give everybody a little bit of a preview of what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'd like to just briefly touch on whether you take a self-guided trip or versus a tour with a tour leader and guide, some packing considerations, and look at lots of photos, and then I'll answer questions at the end. So let's talk a little bit about the self-guided trip versus taking a tour. There are pros and cons for both methods, and I'll start with the attributes of a self-guided trip. If you do it yourself, when you make reservations anywhere, you've got to trust strangers, whether it's your driver, your guide, or the accommodations. You need to do your research. It's your responsibility. If you sign up to do something and you get there and it's not what you thought it was going to be, that's really your responsibility. You don't have anybody you can complain to except maybe yourself and the person at the other end. You can save some money by doing a self-guided trip. You save money from paying maybe a driver, a guide, and some of the people who work for you while you're there. You have some flexibility. If you decide you don't like a spot, you can move on to another spot. The attributes of taking a tour is, first of all, you're going to know your leader beforehand, especially if it's somebody you've met stateside. You will get to know the group that you're traveling with. You'll meet them when you land, I guess. When you fly there, you'll meet the group and get acquainted as you go. But you should already know your leader, especially if you've signed up for something online. It's good to know who your trip leader is. Your trip leader will make all the reservations, and hopefully it's somebody who's experienced and has been to Costa Rica many times and knows different locations and has connections with drivers and guides. It costs a little bit more because you're paying for the person who's making all those arrangements for you and setting everything up. And there's more structure in the itinerary because generally when we make reservations for a group, we make them more than a year in advance. So you're just joining in on something that's already been prepared for you. So that's it, just a brief overview. Some packing considerations. You need to be prepared for varying weather conditions. And if you know where you're going, you'll know what you need. If you're going to be staying down in the lowlands or going on a river trip, you're going to need protection for your feet and your camera gear, and of course yourself. If you're going to be up in the highlands, you know you need to bring warm clothes because there's a big difference in temperature and weather up in the highlands. It's colder and it rains. Those are just some examples. You need to know ahead of time how close are you going to be to the birds and other wildlife. Some trips, you can just get out of the car, check into the lodge, and photograph birds off of the deck. They've got perches set up and put food up for the birds to come to, so you don't have to walk very far. But some places you have to hike in. For example, if you want to see the Honduran white bats, they are little tiny bats that sleep in the rainforest, and you have to hike in to go find them, and you don't always find them right away. So it might rain, or it might have already rained and the ground is already very wet, and you'll have to have either rubber boots or galoshes to put over your shoes or your hiking boots. Anyway, so you need to know ahead of time how close you'll be to the birds and how far you're going to have to walk with your gear. The length of your visit and carrying gear sort of go hand in hand. If you're just going to go for 9 or 10 days, like the trips that I do, you don't need as much gear as if you were going to stay for 2 or 3 weeks. If you were only going to be there for 4 or 5 days, you would need much less gear. And same thing for clothes. I like to have enough changes of clothes, so I don't have to worry about washing clothes partway through the trip, but that's not always possible. Some of the lodges have, they have people who will do your laundry for you, or they have washing machines that you can pay to use yourself. And if you're going just on a short trip, you might not want to carry as much gear, or maybe you're just going for a short trip with long lenses, so you don't mind carrying the long lenses and heavy gear for a short amount of time, but you don't want to do it for a whole week or more. So it's all up to you. And then what kind of vehicle you'll be using. Some people like to hire a driver, and that's what I do when I take people down. I hire the driver, not the vehicle. I hire the driver through an agency, and I always have the same driver every time I go. He's reliable. He picks us up at the airport. He gets us to the hotels and lodges, and he brings us back to the airport at the end of the trip. So that he determines which vehicle we're going to need by the number of people I'm bringing with me and how long we're going to be there. So those are some packing considerations. Let's look at some photos. I don't want to just look at bullet points and title slides all night. So I'm going to start with some birds that you might see here in the United States. This one is a bird that we have here in the Rio Grande Valley where I live, and it happens to be Costa Rica's national bird. It's a thrush, and it's used to be called the, oh gosh, drawing a blank. It's a thrush. It's known for its singing, its song. Clay-colored thrush. It's the clay-colored thrush. I'm not going to try and name all these birds because I do know the names, but I might stumble on it like I just did. So that's the clay-colored thrush. And you might wonder why in Costa Rica, with all those beautiful, colorful birds, why they would pick something this color. And, you know, it's sort of a neutral looking bird. It's not flamboyant. This is about as active as it gets, but it has a beautiful voice. And if you've never heard it, you can look it up and listen. It's a beautiful voice. It has a beautiful song. Down here where I live, we have the crested caracara. We have them there in Costa Rica also. So it's a bird that feeds on carrion usually, but if you take a river trip, you're going to see lots of caracaras because they spend their time at the rivers. We have great egrets here. We have great egrets in Costa Rica. I love getting them in the early light because the white bird against the dark water and the brush in the background is always, there's a lot of contrast and beauty there. I love the way the light plays on the edge of the wings and the neck of the bird. We have roseate spoonbills here. We have them in Costa Rica too. They're on the river. So why am I showing you all these birds that we have here in the US, and they have them in Costa Rica too? There's a stork. We have the stork here. We have orioles here. They have orioles there. Acorn woodpeckers, you can see those in the United States in the Southwest. Let's find some Costa Rica natives. We're going to start by the water since we've already been there a little bit. This is a small bird, but if you look at the bottom of the screen, he's skirting the back of something that's very dangerous. And you don't want to mess with them. They can be pretty dangerous, but they're all around on the river. And when you take a river cruise, your guide, the pilot of the boat that you're on, should not get you too close. Close enough for good pictures, but not so close that you could be in danger. I do not remember this bird, but I wanted to put this picture in because of the tire in the background. I'm pointing that out because there is trash on the shores of the river. And it's so sad to see that because, yeah, you could probably eliminate that in Photoshop, but it's a statement. It's a way it is down there, and you just have to work around it. So I always try and be very aware of what's in my photos when I'm taking a river cruise. Here we have a black hawk. This one's an adult, and he's just sitting on the side of the bank of the river on a rock or mud, and just looking into the river. There's a youngster. It looks really small, but they're large birds. It's just in a very big area with lots of big trees, so he's dwarfed by that branch. Here he is flying. There's an adult and he's lifting up off the ground and going up into the air. There he is soaring over some grasses along the edge of the river. I really like the Blackhawks. We have some here occasionally, but they're in good numbers. So it's always fun to photograph them. There's a guy you might not recognize, but it's a caracara. It's a yellow-headed caracara. And I just put 2 pictures. I could put a lot of pictures of all these birds, but I know I have to limit what I put in. So I tried to pick the best ones that illustrate what I'm saying. I just like to put in a close-up so you can see the differences between our crested caracaras and theirs. And there it is in flight up against the partially blue sky with white clouds. There's always birds flying around, and I don't take too many pictures, but I did this on purpose the last time I took a river cruise because I wanted to show a little bit of the scenery that you get. And the land looks a little bit different. It's not like South Texas or even South Florida. There's another egret flying across the river and posing. They have kingfishers, and they have more kingfishers than we do. We just have 3 different kingfishers in the United States. We have the belted, the ringed, and the green. And they have many more kingfishers there, and we're fortunate to get some. This one is an American pygmy kingfisher, and I've seen it several times, but this last trip that I was there, we were so close that I couldn't focus on it. And this is with my 600mm lens. The boat kept drifting closer and closer, and I was being very careful to be quiet. And our captain said, no, it's okay, keep talking. We're trying to get these birds adapted and accustomed to hearing our voices so that they don't fly as soon as they see the boat or hear people talking. So we just kept talking and made very light conversation, keeping our voices low. This was at the point of no return. The boat kept drifting closer and closer, and I couldn't fit the bird in the picture after that, and it went out of focus.
Doesn't even look real from the size standpoint of the head.
Yeah. There's a huge amount of biodiversity in the Costa Rica country, whether you're in the lowlands or the highlands or somewhere in between. So I put a few pictures of beautiful places that you can photograph. It was raining when I took this picture, and I was standing on a little bridge that went over the stream. So I couldn't get as low as I'd like to be. I was afraid to take the risk of slipping on those rocks and getting down and getting into the stream, which is what I would normally do. But I still like this picture. It shows a little bit of everything that you see when you go there. There's some flowers. There are flowers everywhere. And there's all kinds of plants that stick to the trees. And I just put one in just to show as an example. You're going to see other things than birds. And I know my program tonight is about birds, but you know, while you're looking for birds, you might notice a sloth or a monkey. This one noticed the people and gave us a little pose and a look. And now on to the birds. So this is the yellow-throated toucan. These are some favorites. Everybody likes to see favorite birds that you think of with Costa Rica. This is the yellow-throated toucan. Bless you.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
You might want to mute yourself. Anyway, this is the yellow toucan, a yellow-throated toucan, and he's very colorful. He's got, his bill is half yellow and half maroon, green all around his eye, a yellow eye patch and throat, a red necklace, and blue feet. Very cool. This is one of my favorite birds to photograph. And toucans are actually very easy to photograph because they don't move very quickly. And if they notice you, they'll stare at you like this. I was fortunate enough to get a picture of that guy in flight. And currently I'm drawing this bird. So at some point you'll see it on my Instagram when I finish the drawing. He's flying up to eat the bananas that are up there. And I like the pose. He, you know, they're very slow. slow moving birds, but when they fly, they jump up and then they flap to get up there. And he wants to land on top of the bananas so that he can bend down and eat pieces of it. So anyway, it's a picture of him flying up. There is an Oropendula flying up to some bananas. This is another day, another place. There's a great kiskadee, same thing. They love bananas. When you go different places, different lodges, they're going to each have a different setup. And rather than go through the lodges, I thought it would be more important to talk about getting good bird pictures. And so at some of the lodges, they have a deck around the second floor and perches set up with food to entice the birds to come in. And you can get birds on the perch near the food, but I tend to try and get the bird before it comes to the food. You saw my toucans and other birds at the bananas, but I like to try and get the birds before they come to the food. Sometimes you can take a walk in the woods and come across a bird. And that's the nature of this picture. So it's completely natural. There's no way for me to trim branches or prepare the setting any better than this, because this is out on a walk in the woods. Here's another one on a perch. I like this one because it looks like he has a toupee on, a blonde toupee. There's parrots. This is at one of the lodges that we stay in the Highlands, and we just set up a perch and the birds come. There's no food there, they just come. This one was off to the side from the perch that we had set up, and I liked the bright background because it set off the contrast and the colors. This one, the sky was very gray. It was a dull day out. And this is a turquoise browed motmot. And the brow over his eye, it doesn't really show as turquoise in here, but I didn't do anything to the processing other than brighten the sky and my highlights. So the turquoise is a little bit faint here, but it's the best picture I got on that day and that trip, actually. Here's a blue-gray tanager in flight. Those birds, some people sort of disregard them because they're common. They're at all the lodges. They're in all the places where you go photograph. But getting flight shots adds a little bit of interest to them because you get to see all the different shades of blue that they have in them. This is a green honey creeper. And he's actually looking at another bird and giving him a warning, don't come closer, this is my perch. This one, oh gosh, I'm gonna forget the name here. Orange-legged, red-legged, oh, excuse me, I don't remember. But anyway, I liked getting all these different birds as much as I could. And here he is with his mate. The male is on the left with the orange-red legs. And the female is sort of I don't know, I'm gonna say parakeet green. Not really though, there's a little bit of an olive cast to it and a lot of shades in between. Interaction is always fun to get. If you can get interaction between two birds, it adds another dimension to your photo. This is a woodpecker. And again, I don't remember the name, but it's a hard one to find, and it was raining and it only landed there for a split second and then it was gone. So it was just one of those pictures that I was lucky to get. It's on my list of birds that I want to get better the next time I go, which is in December. There are curacaos, and there's a couple of different plumages that they have. This is a toucanet. At night, if you go to the right places, you can set up and do nectaring bats, and you set up a flash and a perch with a flower that they would want the nectar from, and you can attract them just like you could attract a hummingbird to a flower. There are two bats. So my next section, I had to start off with this. Hummingbirds. I mean, everybody thinks of hummingbirds when they go to Costa Rica. And we were photographing hummingbirds, and I had my 600mm lens, and I was way back because I wasn't photographing hummingbirds yet. My group was already starting to, and I was just starting to set up. And one of the people was just taking a picture of the setup, and the hummingbird landed on her cell phone. So I was able to get a shot of that. The pictures that you're going to see here are all with natural light, just on perches that we set up. And it depends on what angle the bird is facing, whether you see the colors or not. So this is the same bird, and it looks just like, oh, it's a nice hummingbird picture, but when it turns its head, you get the full effect. It flashes the gorget and the crown, and you see the colors that are there. I put this series of 3 pictures in. It's actually the same picture. So this shows you the whole setup. People who photograph always want to know, what did it really look like? I don't want to just see your pretty picture. I want to see how you got it. So I put this in. This is straight out of the camera, nothing done to the raw image. So this is what you see as a raw image. Then I do a little bit of processing to the raw image, and you see this. You see I've warmed it up just a bit, taken the red out or the magenta cast, and then I crop. Then I decide how I want the picture to look. You could crop this several different ways. I'm just going to show you one. I like this one because you've got the bird on the left and the flower tips at the top left, and it sort of draws your eye up there, and then you go down and then you see the other bird. Yes, it's got its back to us, but it puts it in a setting, and it's 2 birds. You've got 3 subjects. You've got the flowers over the top. You've got the bird at the bottom on the right, where you don't really see his face except the eye a little bit on the right side, but then you see the star of the show on the left. So you have a moving composition that way, and the bottom right, the stem draws you in. I could have cropped in a little bit more from the bottom and from the right, but I don't like to make my compositions too tight. Here's another setup that we did. We just take a stalk of flowers and set it up with the background is just the forest. So it's never the same from one picture to the next, or from one angle to the next. And everybody just takes turns. There are several setups, so everybody can photograph different birds all at the same time. There are lots of hummingbirds there. Here, the bird has moved in. The bee is gone. I don't know if you noticed the picture had a bee in it. Let's go back. The bee is actually flying onto the flower. And so on this one, the bird is approaching the flower. And as the bird got to the flower, the bee took off. Here's that same flower. Some birds like to perch. Most hummingbirds just hover and spend their time flitting around from flower to flower, but sometimes they'll perch and you can get a good portrait. You can actually see all the pollen on this bird's face from sticking its face way down into flowers. Still working with that same perch, and I've moved around a little bit. Everybody moves around when they take pictures. These are all natural light, so there's no flash. So you see the bird's wings are in a blur. Some people do not like that. I don't mind it so much. I like to take some of both because I don't mind seeing the blur of the wings. They're moving. There's one where it's just a slight blur and he's approaching. Here's another one where he's coming from the backside. So some people don't like that when the stalk or the flower is covering part of the bird, but it's all preference. What do you like? You have to decide what's good for your photos. What do you like? Here's another close-up. Some people were actually taking pictures of these guys with cell phones. The birds are pretty much fearless. This one shows the gorget flashing a turquoise blue teal color. And now he's turned the other way and you don't see it so much, just a little hint of it. Here's another one. Looking to the left and he's flashing a little bit. There he's flashing the gorget. Here's another bird And I put this one in because it looked like a swan dive. The bird is actually coming in to feed from these flowers, and it's hovering and it's turning at the same time. So it's got its tail flared out and you get to see the colors in the tail. There's another one. We put up some, well, I think they're called foxgloves or beard tongue. I'm never sure when I'm there what's native and what's not, because there are flowers everywhere. Like, for example, hydrangeas just grow and bloom all over the place. So they're not planted, they're there naturally. So I'm not sure if this was native or not, but it was there, and we put it up as a perch. I like the composition of this one because the stalk of flowers is not quite completely blooming. And so the top of the flower is curved backwards and pointing to the bird. So it's a really simple, pretty composition. There's another close-up. Different wing positions. I'll back up for a second, because this one, the bird has its wings completely back. And of course, they're beating so fast, you never know exactly what you're going to get when you take the picture. But you can see that the wings are in the back position in this photo. They're in the forward position in this one. And now they're straight out forward. This scene had a really dark background. It was a little bit hard to expose because the bird has a black head, and I needed to make sure that there was some light coming through so that you don't lose the head, the top of the head in the background. So careful exposure is always important when you're working on pictures like this. Okay, for my final 3 hummingbirds, I wanted to put this one. This is the fiery-throated hummingbird. And here he's looking to the left and you see a little bit of the color. There he's looking to the right, you've lost the color. And now he's full face right at you. You lose the beak, but you see the fiery or fiery, however you want to say it, throat. And there he is looking off to the right. You don't see anything. There's part of it. And there he's flying away. So for my final series in this program, I thought I would talk about a picture that everybody wants, the resplendent quetzal. Everybody wants that bird. And you can see them. If you go on your own, you're not going to likely see one. You really need to hire a guide. The guides work with the farmers who allow them to access their properties. So depending on where you stay, you may be able to find a guide if you're on your own. I always have my guides well in advance, make the reservations, pay the deposit, so I know that I'm going to have them. And so while you're looking for the resplendent quetzals, you might have opportunities to take other pictures while you're waiting and watching. And that's what's happening here. So we're set up near a quetzal's nest, not really close. They're very large birds, and you can shoot from across the field and still get a very large image of a quetzal. So here I am, I'm just taking pictures of other birds. And we're looking at the quetzal nest, which was in a field away from where we were standing. And I missed when he first came out. But I took pictures anyway. I wasn't quite in focus. You can see that they're not in focus, so don't tell me, I know. But I was ready. I said, I'm not going to look away anymore. So I got the female as she was approaching the nest. Both parents take care of the nest, whether it's incubating or feeding the young. So she flies into the nest and she stays in the nest for several hours, sometimes 2, 3. You never know how many hours she's going to be there. But when she flew out, I was ready. And there she's going out of the nest. And nothing happened for a long time. I missed the mail going in, so I knew it was going to be a while. So in the meantime, I got sidetracked and took pictures of this flower piercer. If you look closely at his beak, you'll see that it's got a hook on it. And what he does with this hook is he pierces the flower down at the base with that, it's like an ice pick basically. And he just rips a little hole in the flower and then sips the nectar as it drips out. So here he's getting ready to go on to these flowers. There he's pierced the flower and he's drinking the nectar that's coming out. And there he has had his drink and he's getting ready to fly away. So while he was doing that, I missed the Quetzal again. And, you know, I keep learning this lesson over and over. I should just be patient and sit there well, actually stand or sit, whichever you're doing, and just wait. So somebody said, he's coming, he's coming. And look, he's got an avocado in his beak. So it's a small avocado. It's a wild avocado. That's what they feed on. And they teach their chicks to eat them right away. So he's approaching the nest. He's still approaching. You can see I've clipped off a little bit of his tail. Well, now I've got the whole bird, but I've lost his head. Sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. There you can see the avocado and you can see his eye if you look carefully. And there, he put his wings down as he's going into the nest. And you can see that he's got the avocado. You can see the whole tail. It's not as amazing as the photos that I could have gotten, but I still think it's a worthy photo. I like this picture. There he's covered his belly because he's leaning into the side of the tree. And so you don't see all the colors, but you see the bird's face and the avocado and all the green and teal colors on the tail. Okay, yep, I got sidetracked again. You would think I would learn, but I didn't. But I got this picture and I'm really happy I got this picture. It's a bird and its name sounds like chlorophyll, I don't remember, chlorophynium, something like that. But anyway, it feeds on these little berries and he mostly had his head down in the berries and I kept missing pictures of them, but he finally put his head up and showed off his fruit that he had just picked. So I like that shot. Okay, back to the Quetzal. You can see I missed the first part of him entering and I've got his eye and his beak with the food in his beak and the tail. And there he is getting ready to go into the hole. There he's got his face in the hole and he's feeding the chicks. And, oh, I've switched because now I'm at another scene. So this is another site. It's on private property. And sometimes the birds are there and you just don't even see them because you're not noticing. But sometimes they'll move around and then you'll see them. And that's what happened here. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time to see this beautiful resplendent Quetzal camouflage. All the green shades are there. There's the female. This was the same day, the same location. She caught a dragonfly and it was dark. It was super, super dark. And I took a chance. I went to a really super slow shutter speed. I think it was a 30th of a second. It was super slow, but I was hoping that she would stop long enough and pause long enough that my 30th of a second would be the right shutter speed to capture all the beauty at a low ISO, because a lot of times you're shooting at super high ISOs and then you have to deal with the noise in the pictures. Here she is with that dragonfly. She's approached the nest and she paused long enough that I got that photo too. And that's all that's left. Now you might think that the picture is gone, but she's there. That's the tail. That's the tail sticking out. And actually that might be the male's tail. I was there all afternoon one day trying to photograph these birds in the rain and the dark. And sometimes all you could see was the tail sticking out. The ferns are the top part and the tail is the bottom part. And so that's, I would say that's about it on the resplendent Quetzal. It's a way I like to end my slideshow, but I did get one picture that I'd like to share. And this was my favorite shot. I saved it for last. It's in the rain. You can see the red on the breast. You can see all the different colors on the back. His crest is up. He doesn't have any food in his mouth, but he's looking toward the camera and his tail is blowing in the breeze. And you can see that the rain is coming down. All those little spots are rain.
Beautiful.
So thank you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you.
Okay, Ruth, I've got to ask, were you at the eye level with that Kitzel?
Yes, because I was standing on the side of a hill.
There we go.
I was standing.
Normally you're going straight up at those suckers. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah, I'm on a private property and let's go back to that. I'll share my screen once more. Hold on a second. Can do that. Oops. Yeah. Okay. So the landowner has he's very much aware that people love to get the resplendent Quetzal photos, and he finds these natural perches. Nothing has been done to this perch. This is just like it was. And he erects this perch with two poles, one on each side. And it's basically about the same height off the ground as the nest. And the birds sometimes use it, sometimes don't. And so you never know where they're going to be. And I'm standing on the side of a hill. It's almost like a 45-degree angle slope. There's no place level. And I stood there for 3 hours. That's a long time to be standing with your toes going down into the slope of the hill. And it didn't matter what I did. I never really got comfortable, but you know, it's just one of those things. We don't choose where the bird nests. It chooses where it nests. And the landowner puts up a perch with the hopes that the bird will use it. There were a couple of perches. And so you had to choose, which perch am I going to work on? And I really liked all the decorations on this perch. It was beautiful the way it was. And to get the bird where it's facing and the wind is blowing its tail, you know, from the top left down to the bottom right. And you never know exactly what posture they're going to be in. Sometimes they come in and they're very vertical. Sometimes they are crouching and they just land briefly and then keep going on to the nest. So you never know exactly where you're going to get the bird in the frame and then to be focused. And I say I got lucky on this one. I still love this picture to this day. I would like to draw this bird. It's so pretty.
How far away were you for the shot?
Oh, we were I'm going to say 20 yards. We were pretty far away. It's a big bird. You don't want to be too close because if you use a short lens, you get all the background, and you can see that I've got, you know, the jungle, the rainforest background. You can't, I mean, I'm not one to go and change what I saw. What you see in my pictures on Instagram, what you see is what I saw through the viewfinder. I'm not one who goes in and changes out birds' heads or eyes or beaks or tails, take the background out. I don't do that. I'm pretty much a purist. And so what you see is what I saw that day. And I'm going to tell you, my feet were so sore that night, but I went back and did it again the next day. I mean, it's addictive.
Hey, Ruth,
Yeah.
Ruth, are you using a wide open aperture, like a 1.2 or something because of the bird background? What aperture generally were you using?
Oh, we can go into that a little bit. You know, my general, I'm going to call it formula, my preferred
Fast
setting
speed?
would be ISO 800, f8, and 2500th of a second. But I'm going to tell you, when you're in Costa Rica, you're in the rainforest. You're generally working with cloudy days almost all the time. And a lot of times it's drizzling. And so you're lucky if you can get down to 3200 ISO. And so I'm generally trying to keep not a wide open aperture, but I don't close down very much because I want to capture as much speed as I can. And they're all over the place. All those hummingbirds that you saw, some of them were 500th of a second, some of them were 1250. I never really got up to 2500th of a second because I didn't have sunshine and good light. So I always shoot in manual. I do not use auto ISO. I always want to be super aware of what my camera settings are. And I know I'm leaving this picture on so long, I can come back and you can watch me, but I think it'd be more fun to look at this bird and keep looking at it than look at me. But generally speaking, I'm always in manual mode. Very rarely will I go to the aperture. No. I generally am in manual mode because I always want to know what my ISO is. I want to know what I'm getting before I aim at it. And I took some pictures of some wild horses. I had an opportunity in May to be in Wyoming and got to photograph some wild horses. And while I was out there, there was some pronghorn. And I took a picture that I entered in a contest. And it was 3 pronghorn antelope, and they were racing. And it looked like a horse race. And I would have loved to have had a slower shutter speed. I was at 2500th of a second, like for my bird formula. And all of a sudden they were there and I was in the vehicle and I had my lens in my lap. I was able to get my lens up and get on it. And so I had a very fast shutter speed. And the comment in the contest from the judge was, I wish you would have had a slower shutter speed and pan with them. And I was like, I sort of rolled my eyes because I was panning with them, but when you're at 2500th of a second, you're not going to get much pan.
No.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing.
So were you taking this straight up with your 600?
Oh my gosh, let's see. Was it I have a 300 2.8 and I have a 600 f4. It was one of the two. I don't remember which one it was. I can look. I'm not sharing screen, so I can look at the picture. I'll answer other questions in the meantime.
Do you use tripod?
Oh, always. I'm always on a tripod. I don't even think twice about that. Always on a tripod.
And it's see your 600 millimeter. It's a prime lens. It doesn't zoom.
Yes, and that's what I tell people when I carry heavy gear. I'm doing it because I know what I can get with it. If I had a zoom lens, I could get the same picture, but the background would not be as pretty.
Ruth, it rains a lot in Costa Rica, doesn't it?
Yeah, almost all the time.
Okay, so how'd you adapt with that?
Well, we have raincoats for our cameras and raincoats for ourselves.
Well, okay.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, your camera would be getting wet all the time, I guess. That's
Well,
my
they're
point.
weather sealed.
I mean,
Yeah,
you have some cover over it, I guess, right?
So raincoats for the camera.
I have a raincoat for the camera, so I don't have to worry about my camera. And
Yeah,
for
okay.
myself, I don't care if I get wet. I've got more clothes.
Well, and most high-end cameras have some level of weather sealing. It's not perfect, but it will help.
Say it again.
Most of our professional cameras have some level of weather sealing between
yeah.
the lens and other parts that it's not waterproof, but it's water
Right.
resistant.
Right.
What camera do you shoot?
Well, I've gone mirrorless. I'm completely mirrorless now. I'm a Canon shooter. I started out on Nikon, and the last Nikon body that I bought was a Nikon F3. It's a film camera. I never went digital with the Nikon. I do have a Nikon digital camera. One of my students gave it to me when he upgraded twice. And he said, maybe you can use it or help a student with it. And so but I shoot the Canon R5s. I have 2 R5s and I have an R3.
Well,
Does that help?
Can I ask?
Roll
How
this
do you like the
mic.
R3 versus the R5?
I'm sorry?
How do you rate the R3 versus the R5?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm still learning the R3. I've had it for a while. I know what to do with my R5. The R5, I'm super comfortable. I teach people how to set them up. I do Zoom lessons on that. And I can do the same thing with the R3, but I'm not quite as comfortable with it. I'm still learning that camera. I've had it for a little while, but if I definitely want to get the picture, I've got the R5, but now I'm forcing myself to look for the R3 first and then switch to the R5 if I want. But I really like the R5 better right now. I'm going to say that I've seen the R3 lock in faster and it shoots faster, so I can see where it's got its positive attributes, but it's also half the size, half the megapixels. I love the R5. It's so versatile.
So you're carrying two 600mm lenses with you?
No.
No,
No, the last time I went to Costa Rica was in April, and I don't know how I did it, but I carried my 600 f4, my 300 2.8, and those are old lenses. They're 25 years old, so they're not the 8-pound version. They're the 13 and 15-pound versions. I carry heavy stuff, and so I put those two in my backpack, and then I had a purse that held my camera bodies, and I just didn't want anybody to look at me, so I tried to keep a very low profile so I wouldn't get caught with having too much stuff. I'm really naughty.
My husband is my Sherpa, but it seems like every time I get a great shot, he's off somewhere.
Oh, I was going to say, do you rent him out? I
Does
don't have a Sherpa.
your R5 have the Canon feature that'll autofocus on the eyes of
Oh, yes.
wildlife, and do you use it?
Oh, yes, yes, I use it all the time. I wouldn't have it any other way. When I switched to that to try it out, I could not believe the difference. It was just amazing. And I said, I can't live without this now, because my action shots, my bird action shots, my keeper rate went from about 20% to 95%.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it's totally worth the investment.
Yeah.
You're going to convince David pretty soon.
David, I don't know why you haven't done it, but after hearing that should change your mind.
Well, it's because I have the R5, so he's trying to decide if he needs the R3.
Well, you could be ambidextrous if you do that. You've got the R3 or the R5, and you swap back and forth. That's a good technique, no?
Usually how it used to work.
Have any more questions?
Well, I was gonna say, I like both the R5 and the R3, but I like the price on the R5 a lot better.
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate. I bought the R5 as soon as it came out. And then I was not sure if I wanted the 100 to 500 lens. And so I did get it, but it was considered used when I bought it. Somebody had bought it, kept it for a month and turned it back in. And so it had to be sold as used. And when I bought it, I was told that they also turned in the R5 that went with it. So I got an R5 and the 100 to 500 and an adapter. Should I tell them how much I paid? I probably shouldn't. Let's say,
now.
all right, it was under $5,000.
That was very good.
Good.
And can you tell us anything about travel these days? Going into semi-post-COVID, what do you find? Any tips for travel to Costa Rica?
Yeah, well, actually, Costa Rica, they're very careful there. I feel safer there than, I'm going to say, I live in Texas. You do too. I feel safer in Costa Rica than I do in Texas. And I'm not lying. It's everybody wears masks there. The staff in the hotels and the restaurants, everybody's in masks, and everybody's very careful about washing hands. And it's just, I don't know. I feel safe there. I don't like being in the airports. I don't like being in the airplanes. I don't like being in closed quarters. I live on 45 acres by myself. That should tell you something about me. I'm not around a lot of people. So when I go, when I travel, I'm super cautious, and I don't want to get sick. I had the vaccine, I had the booster, then I got another booster. I've had 4 shots, and I don't want to get sick. And I take a lot of precautions to not get sick.
Ruth, have you ever shot in other countries? Have you ever done bird shooting in any other countries?
Oh yeah, well, Ecuador. I've been to Ecuador a couple of times, and I've got a friend who has property down there and looking to go back there. My coordinator who I do my trips with, he's trying to encourage me to go other places, and I'm not sold on it yet. I mean, I really want to go, but on the other hand, I don't want to get sick, and I don't want to have to worry about taking 6 people with me and making sure that they don't get sick. And some of them, on these trips, they're less cautious as I am. I just don't want to get sick. So I'm going to say, yeah, I know there are a lot of people who are going back, and I hear from this trip later, oh, I just got back from Alaska. Yeah, we all came back with COVID. And I hear that time and time again. And I just, my trips are limited, and it's like I come out of the 45 acres where I live. I take people on a trip and I go back to that 45 acres. I haven't been traveling. I mean, I went to Costa Rica in April, and I went last December. I really haven't gone anywhere else.
Okay.
Have you, Ruth, have you been to the Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica?
No. If I have, I don't remember. I know, no, I have not. I'm sure I have.
It's on the Pacific side.
Right. No, I've been all over Costa Rica, but just in certain places. And it's always been, we're going here, here, and here. And so it's on my list of places that I want to go maybe next time.
Mm-hmm.
So Ruth, are your workshops or your trips, are they under your website, or are they a part of the Journal of Wildlife Photography, or where?
Well, I write for the Journal of Wildlife Photography, and I can mention my stuff, my places and trips there, but I'm not one who markets what I do. So you pretty much have to be somebody who knows me or knows of me through somebody else. I'm not a globetrotter, and I don't want to just hang around with a bunch of people I don't know. I like to work with people I either know or know from somebody else. And I'm just a little bit peculiar, I guess, but that's just the way I am.
Okay. Good.
So if you're interested in going, well, John, you've been with me,
Yeah, I'm going to show 3 birds that I took. They wanted to know what my favorite photographs were, and so I've got 3 favorite photographs from trips with Ruth Hoyt.
Well, I'm going to stay and watch. I want to see.
Yeah, we'll do that after our break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have any more questions, I don't want to rush anything here, but we could take a short break and then get back to the rest of the meeting.
Yeah.
How we're doing? Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, why don't we do that? The time right now is let's say 7:30. Let's get back here before 7:40. Less than 10 minutes. Give it about 8-9 minutes. Okay.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Good. Take care.
Okay.
Hey, Ruth, thanks for the presentation. I really appreciate it.
You're very
presentation.
welcome.
Yeah.
Glad to be here with you all again.
Yeah, I haven't, I'm kind of like you. I've still got my head down. I haven't traveled out of the country yet.
Well, I think you would find that you're safe going to Costa Rica with me anyway, because I know what I do. I can't say what
Right.
other people do.
Yeah. Well, I'll think about it, but
I'm going
I
in
don't know.
December, and I've got spots.
okay. December is the next time?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm doing December this year and April next year.
April. Okay.
So has your teacher lady showed up yet this month and got pictures of that bobcat that I want? Oh.
teacher lady.
Yeah, you used to say there was a lady that came, maybe it's a single mom with her daughter or something that always
Oh,
comes.
yeah. No, they're going out with me. Let's see, this weekend, Saturday afternoon, because I've got a youth photo workshop in the morning. So they're going to go with me in the afternoon. So you know it's going to be hot. And then
Okay.
they're going the following morning, Sunday morning, we're going back to the ranch. So we're actually going twice, and it's coming this weekend. Yeah.
Well, you just go ahead and just post those pictures in for me.
You're not going to believe this. You know, you're not going to believe this. But when I left my house to come out here, I'm in town. I'm house sitting tonight, starting tonight. And when I loaded up all my stuff by my front door, just inside the front door. So when I'm ready to leave, all I have to do is open the door, take everything out and get in the car and go. Well, I got everything all ready. And when I opened the door to take the first load out, 2 bobcats ran out from under my porch. It was
Oh my
a
God.
mama and a half-grown baby
Oh,
under my porch.
And you didn't have a camera in your hand, did you?
No, I had a suitcase and a
That's what happens to me.
yeah. It was neat to see though, because they both ran. One went out one side and one went out the other. And they both turned at about 10 feet away and turned to look at me. And so I quickly shut the door and came back inside and left the door shut for about 10 minutes. I wanted to let them get their space and get their wits about them, because I don't want to discourage them from being there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And Tim, since you're online here, I just wanted to let you know you're the first person that's ever told me I had a big nose. So
work?
yes, it did work.
Excellent.
Yeah, did you tell Ruth about
We got
No,
there
I'll tell you-
eventually.
I've had trouble with my R5 focusing. It just seemed like the focus point kept moving around and it was just driving me bananas. I thought I was going to send it back and get them to look at it and all this. But good Tim, who has one himself. Well, he has the R6, but either way, I said, have you ever had this problem? I've had my camera almost a year and I keep having this problem. And Tim goes, maybe it's your nose, that wherever you're putting it on the camera on the back, it's using that touch screen.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you about that, because I teach people who have R5s and R6s and R3s. I don't use that viewfinder. I use the viewfinder. I don't use the screen. So
Right, that's what I just turned it off.
Yeah, well, just flip it inside. It's a reticulating screen. Just have it off all the time. You never need it. And when I'm teaching people to be more proficient and efficient with what they're doing, I make them shut it and I say, okay, put your eye up to the camera. Your nose is on the back. You can't look. And I said, look through your viewfinder and tell me what ISO you're on. Tell me what your aperture is. Tell me what the shutter speed. And I make them tell me where that stuff is. And I say, okay, without taking your eye off of the viewfinder, change your ISO. And they always want to pull their face away and say, no, keep your face to your viewfinder. And this is how you get better. This is how you get better when you're, when I'm teaching, this is how I teach them to become more proficient with their camera. They learn to know where the button is. Oh, I just realized I'm giving you signals here and I don't have my video on. So I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm saying, okay, feel for that ISO button, feel for the back dial. You do not need to have your eye away from the camera and look down at it. If I did that, I'd need to put reading glasses on. So, I mean, I teach them to know where their dials and buttons are so that they become more efficient. And I'll tell you what.
And I know that as well. But what was happening is I was putting the camera down and putting it back up and it wasn't where I left it. And it was driving me bananas.
It's got that, even when your eyes up to the viewfinder, you can drag your thumb over the screen.
Oh, yeah.
And move the focus point around. So if that's on, we figured out as Connie looks at it, uses a different eye than I do. And her nose was touching the screen right where the viewfinder wasn't moving it off. She thought the camera was possessed. But
no,
it was.
we had to have a couple beers and think about it, but we got there.
Yeah. Because it's the same way. I just turned off touchscreen because I don't use the touchscreen part.
Yeah.
And so I just look at pictures later on back on the back, kind of thing. But
it's a cool little feature, but I've never used it in
no, it takes too long.
in an actual situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I turn mine off because I don't have that big a nose, but it does tend to.
Well, I didn't know I didn't either, but it moves.
Yeah, that Connie, why do you have your focus way over in the corner, you know? I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't figured that out. It's weird.
Yeah.
I can't find it. I'm still looking for that picture and I can't find it. It's in my slideshow, but I don't keep pictures on my computer. I use hard drives and to stay efficient with the computer. So I don't have any of my hard drives handy to plug in to get that picture. That's going to drive me nuts, but we can put it in when you post the video. You can put a note up and say, I told you what it was later. I'm not finding that picture and it's not on my phone. Oh, you know where it is? It's going to be on Instagram. Duh. Yeah. I know I posted that picture on Instagram. Anyway, so this is really fun. I think, was the program long enough, Connie?
Yeah, you did
It
good.
was perfect.
Right.
It's perfect.
I had to cut way back because I had so many pictures. I could have just done one thing, one topic of Costa Rica, but I wanted to give everybody an overview,
No, it's very good.
Well, Costa Rica has so many birds, it's kind of hard not to. I mean, it's such a variety of birds there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
I think Chuck's trying to tell us something.
Intermission,
admin
10-minute
is
break.
working.
I got my coffee, I'm set.
Right.
We
I see you at Starbucks.
We already, I didn't go to Starbucks. This is real coffee here. Anyways, yeah, why don't we get rolling? Next part of the meeting, there's some business stuff, but I'll try to go through it pretty quickly. I got the agenda from Kathy. She talks here a little bit about our website, make sure that people know where it is. And most of you guys know, hopefully the newcomers have visited the website and also our group on Facebook. That's where we meet between meetings, if you will, on Facebook. This thing here just talks about some of our events, coming events. On the right-hand side of that screen, they talk about this meeting here, July 19th. Then we've got a post-processing special interest group Thursday. I won't be in town. For those who want to meet, please do. August 16th, there's that's our next club meeting. Program Mike Motes, properly equipped macro photographer. And then post-processing special interest group again, and then iPhoneography workshop coming up. So those are the things that are sitting on our calendar right now. We also do our Wednesday lunch group that does every Wednesday on Zoom and then in person once a month. Activities, we don't have activities. Oh, I do have Jim here. I don't know if you want to talk about any of the activities coming up or anything that you know about it.
Who, me?
Yeah, I don't know. Who better?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, at some point in August, we want to go over to the Bush Library and the grounds, and then maybe venture over to Kyle Field. They've got a bunch of statues there, and also wander around the campus. There's some interesting photos there, but that'll be a one-day trip. We'll gather probably at the church and carpool over there. Last week, I had intended to go with John Gray on the courthouse. He was going anyway, and we were going to go down on an overnight. Unfortunately, I had an emergency with my son's house, so I couldn't go. But John got some great pictures of some of the pretty courthouses. And we're going to do that. There's lots of good courthouses within a day's drive of Kingwood. So, and then of course, the big trip is September 27th, October 2nd. The front end of it's in Santa Fe and the back end's at the Balloon Festival in Albuquerque.
Hope you'll plan the courthouse trip for October or November or something.
Yeah.
Some of us really.
Go ahead, Ellen.
I was just going to say, some of us, I was unable to go, and I really would like to. I think that'd be a really fun trip, and I think it'd be really nice and in the fall.
Yeah, well, since I couldn't go last week, I definitely want to go.
Yeah.
We kind of thought about that as a summer trip because most of the time we're in an air conditioned car and we get out, wander around, take pictures, get back in the air conditioning. But I agree with you. And I think, John, I think an overnight trip allows us to catch the light better. So we may look at an overnight trip.
Good. All right, thank you. In terms of, we do have you just mentioned those. That's just a follow on to your you talked about the balloon festival and the upcoming Santa Fe trip. I'll jump ahead here. There's some Facebook posts that came up. I guess there was a car show in the town center that Joy got some pictures on. And Mr. Eddie Ray Porter, also known as Chris, has got a bunch of equipment there. A lot of projects. He's doing a lot of taking old pictures, slides, restoring them. I saw one he did today, pretty good.
Well, I would say I have out of the 4 slide cabinets that I have, these new made, they were these classic cabinets for storing 35 millimeter slides. So I've gotten down to a 1 that only has like 2.5 shelves left. I've called everything. I tried to check with Humble Camera and Houston Camera Exchange to see if I could get $5 for these file cabinets, and they said absolutely no value at all. So Saturday is recycling day in Kingwood, and they're going out on the curbs.
Well, that's too bad.
The other thing that has no value, Chris, are slide projectors.
Yeah.
No value.
Yeah.
I have one.
Yeah.
I can't give it away.
Let's get into our share and learn. This is where we'll, I think the theme this month was sort of everybody's favorite photo. We've had a lot of people upload, and I'll switch over the screen now and get into, let me get into there. Let me get into another screen. Are you seeing the, I think you're seeing this screen here of pictures. So I'm going to go and, oh, I don't like the way that did that. I liked better the other way. You go full screen and it gives you a smaller picture. That's interesting. Bill Baird.
Yes, this is Guadalupe Peak and Guadalupe National Park in far west Texas, out on the Texas-New Mexico line. We were actually on our way to Phoenix and to a photo workshop and decided to make a little side trip. And we certainly didn't do any hiking, but we just drove up towards the headquarters and stopped a number of times, take pictures. And so then we started back down, and I saw this one place to take my last picture, and this was it. Turned out to be the best one.
Okay.
And
It's
so
nice, Bill.
Yep, great clouds.
Yeah, great clouds.
yeah, I was fortunate to have the clouds and a little bit of a foreground there with the rocks. And so
Yeah,
that's one of my favorites from Texas. This is over on the outskirts of Brenham. It's called the Brenham Country Club, although it's no longer a country club. I think it's for special events. But in years past, they've had a spectacular show of wildflowers there and bluebonnets. And so I've always liked this picture very much. This is the Pecos River Bridge on Highway 90 west of Del Rio. If you pass this way going to Big Bend. I've been there a number of times, taken a number of pictures there. Oftentimes there's not much water in the river. Other times, never seen a vessel like this one going through, which I think added to the picture. And so another one of my Texas favorites.
Very nice.
Yes.
Okay, that's some of my pictures here. I've been doing a lot of cleanup like Chris has, and old pictures and restoring old photos since I haven't been traveling much and taking pictures. This is one of my daughter. I was getting out of the Air Force. This was back in 73, 74, something like that. I was cleaning out my uniforms and throwing stuff out. We were getting ready to go leave the Air Force and drive to Austin, Texas. This was in Homestead, Florida, and drive to Austin, Texas to start my MBA. And just liked the way she was so serious about the whole thing. Only just one of my favorite pictures of her. It's not the sharpest picture, probably taken with a little Instamatic box camera or something like that, typical of what I was taking pictures with in those days. But it's one of those pictures I really love.
Nice shot.
And I've been doing a lot of restoration pictures. This one is one of my mother-in-law, Margaret. Of course, it's been restored. I use gigapixel for face. The face, and you can see what a fantastic job it did. That's an old picture. It's World War II. It wasn't color, it was black and white. So I ran this through the gigapixel for the face restoration. And the reason I love it is her smile. Margaret was a wonderful woman, Helen's mother. She was a bit of a mischievous lady. Interesting background. She had a boyfriend. She grew up in Chicago, an Irish family. Background was a good Irish family in Chicago. She had a boyfriend that went off to Pearl Harbor and got killed in Pearl Harbor. And she ended up leaving home and going off and joining the Navy herself as a result of that, where she met Helen's father. And that's why our life turned the way it did. But she is mischievous. It's another picture of her. She was very Catholic. She was working with a lot of the brothers up at a place close to where she used to live, and they dressed her up one day, and that's typical Margaret. She had a good time. This was a lot later in her life. That's my dad. My grandfather was a photographer. He loved photography. He was a cabin boy in a sailing boat in the Caribbean. He went into Curacao one time and found a camera, bought himself a camera and bought it back. And he had his own lab in the house. So he had 8 kids, and they were all photogenic kids. So he would pose them and take some really great shots. And my dad, as a young kid, looked like a model there. So he was about 18. He was probably about 17, 18 there.
Chuck, did you colorize that?
Yeah, that was colorized.
Yeah,
these are all been restored. But that picture, my father died a long time ago, so this picture was probably taken in about 1930 or 35. Yeah. But yeah, it's been colorized and it's been restored.
Nice, really nice.
The job you can do nowadays with some of the software on these old pictures is mind-boggling in my mind, just mind-boggling. So let's go on.
Okay. So I had a chat with Kathy, our president, the other day, and I said, when this topic came up of your favorite pictures, I'm really careful about favorites. I try not to say I have any favorite children or favorite grandchildren. I don't want to offend anyone, but sometimes you do have a favorite picture. And I told her, I said, my favorite pictures are the ones of my kids and grandkids, because when I'm dead and gone, they're not going to say, remember that shot he took of a lion drinking water or something. Yeah. They're going to remember the shots I took of them and their kids. And this is my daughter, Derry, or Deirdre, and her little baby, Caitlin. Now Caitlin is like 10 years old, so this was taken a while ago. And I've used this in my child photography portrait session. Just a grab shot with the right lighting, all natural light, and an 85 f1.2 Canon lens, which is a great portrait lens. And it's just, to me, I got a lot of, I shot 50 shots. And at one point I said, just kind of nuzzle your nose like you're going to give her a kiss. And that was the shot. So
you're right about the important pictures. You have 50,000 pictures in your portfolio.
It's not just what's important to me, it's what is important, I guess is how I read it.
That's right. No, that's right.
This is another one. These 2 little granddaughters live in Atascocita. They're now, I think, the one on the left is 15, turning 16. The other one is like 13. And I used to take them every summer because their parents worked in the city, and I would do these pictures. And I always said, I said this before in my little session on portraiture for children. I say, well, I always told my kids or grandkids, for every 5 good shots, you can make a face. And Emily on the right made the most crazy face with, I never knew a child could make her eyes go that way. So it's a favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And this is just the more of your classic portraiture. And this was, again, Emily and her older sister, Kirsten. And we were photographing, I had been asked to do some Christmas portraits for the mom. I think we shot in Thanksgiving with the idea they could be in Christmas cards or something. And this was in color, but when I looked at it, I said, you know, the tones are great for black and white. And I just did a quick conversion in Lightroom and turned it to black and white, played with the highlights and the contrast and the shadows. And I got the right pose because I hate to say it, Emily was about 5 or 6, and she was usually making funny faces. I couldn't get her to make a serious. And this one, it just has, there's a lot of love in this picture. And I like the fact that I think both her mother and her father have it like on their cell phones as their lock screen. You know, it's their most important picture. So.
That's good. Thanks, Chris.
Chris, were you using a catch light for this?
Well, I would have shot, my typical way is to have like I call it a box light with a strobe with a softbox, probably just to the left of my camera. You can see the direction on the faces, a little shadow, and then just the background light and a little, maybe a reflector for the hair. So just maybe 2 lights and a reflector.
Okay.
Connie.
I know this is a real big shock because Chris told me he didn't want to see any wildlife from me. So I'm showing some of my other favorite photos. This happened to be a young lady in Indonesia at the bus station. And I just love it. It's my National Geographic photos, I call it.
Yeah.
It's nice, yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
Now that one is what I love.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I think
wow.
I've shown this one before in the past, but this is in Lalibela in Ethiopia. And the gentleman's just sitting in its natural light coming in to the right through that window. And he's reading his, I'm assuming, prayer book.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
a beautiful
I
picture.
love the textures. That wood or whatever it is on the wall behind him is great.
When you look at
Yeah,
his
it's
hand,
it's a door or a window.
And,
Yeah,
and
those
that
are-
yellow, it's, you know, it's almost like, I know you didn't set this up, but it could be, it's like what a professional, for say advertising, they would have set this up and they would have picked that colored canvas there or tapestry. It's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful shot.
there would have been a can of Coke on it or something like that.
Perfect.
That's the next shot. No. And then I thought I would share again my Patagonia. Yeah. This is more typical as far as showing you the Wanaka or the Puma feeding over here.
Those mountains are so beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of got a weird color on this screen. Yeah.
This is my grandmother. Me when I was a baby. Yeah, this is in Bhutan. The people there, the facial features, I guess they're all of them have the real, I guess you call it, skin is all wrinkled and everything, but it's from being out in the sun and working so much out in the sun. And then I guess it's a grandmother with a baby. We were at a little festival and he was just passed out. I love this picture. Great.
Oh yeah.
Great expression on her face and the baby just passed out.
Yeah.
Colors, yeah.
When that contrast of age and youth.
Oh. Whoops.
I did do wildlife. This is an Anna hummingbird. I took this up. You've seen this before too. I think I took that at my daughter's house in Seattle
When she's living out there.
when she lived out there.
Mhm.
And it's actually sitting on a bird feeder, a hummingbird feeder, but the sun was on it just right, and it was in the shower in the back, so that's why it turned out like that. Just a great exposure.
Yeah, that is neat. Yeah, okay. Oops, sorry. Let me get this thing to move here.
And this is in Mongolia. This is the Kazakhstan eagle hunter. He's got a baby wolf he caught, and he had him on a chain there. He's on the little green line so he can run around, but he kind of got like a pet, but it's kind of a beautiful scenery there.
Yeah.
Gorgeous scenery.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite shots. I love the picture, the texture and everything.
Very nice.
Nice.
Emily.
Well, I've been gone for 20 days and I thought we were supposed to do fireworks. So these are not what I would call my favorite pictures, but they're fireworks. So this was in the Seattle area and looking out across Puget Sound. Mm. And then this was it in Michigan, and what is the name of the city where a friend of mine lives? Traverse City. And they have a cherry festival there every year, and they have shoot off all these fireworks. So you have the lake, the water, and the fireworks, reflected, and it's kind of nice.
Nice.
But they also have cherry shaped fireworks.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Is that the coolest thing?
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
For the cherry festival? I thought that was just amazing. With a seed in the middle,
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. A little, make out the stem and everything there.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Mr. Gamon.
Okay, this is from Melbourne, Australia. It's taken off a bridge.
Oh, pretty.
I took this one in Mexico.
Like that. There's a
So
story there.
he's got the mask on.
He does have a mask on,
Yeah, they all had masks. This is also taken from our last trip in Mexico. It's actually kind of a neat shot because we were going by in a bus and I just happened to catch that at the right angle.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, the little sword up in the top there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I tried to find out after, it was something we just went by. The guy didn't even know the name of it. And I've tried to find that later and I can't find it on, using mapping or whatever. So I have no idea what church it is.
It's interesting that it does have the sword too.
Yeah. And this was also taken on an earlier trip in Mexico, but it's a family getting a little rest on the corner of a street.
Cool.
Yeah, this is mine. This is Smith Rock State Park near Bend, Oregon. And a colleague had taken me hiking there. The next morning, I got up real early in the morning, came back, and I got this picture. And I love the lines of the river and the lighting of the early morning sunlight. It's a gorgeous hiking spot. Okay, next one. This is my macro shot. This is a chala cactus in
Very cool.
the park in California.
California.
Yeah, that's in Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree.
This was this past spring. We were going up to Silverton, Colorado. This was taken with an iPhone using the live view, and then from the live view, making it a long exposure. So that's an iPhone picture.
Yeah, nice.
Very little editing.
Live view is interesting. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, it is. This is my granddaughter. In January, we went on a walk downtown, and she's got Colombian blood, has seen snow exactly once. Saying, why in the world did you bring me down here? And we ended up leaving early because she was freezing to death.
My kids saw their first snow here in Houston.
Yeah.
First time they'd seen it coming down in '89 when we moved to Kingwood, and it snowed on Christmas Day.
The fall colors there.
That was the first time they'd seen it.
Yeah, so I think this one's mine.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pick out favorite pictures from thousands of pictures you've taken. So I'll just say these are three that I like a lot. And some of it's because of, the memories you have. This was actually a trip from Colorado, I think last fall. This is taken from a place called Ohio Creek Road between Gunnison and Crested Butte. And I went out there to take pictures of the aspens in the fall colors, and it cooperated very well. So I really liked how it came out.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Nice shot. Ooh.
So this sometimes I think that the composition and what you're trying to do, if it works, can be one of your favorite pictures. This was from our Kingwood Photoclub trip to Fredericksburg. Some of you may recognize this is a an old World War II vintage truck in the boneyard of the Nimitz Museum. It's right next to the cemetery, and we had taken pictures of the cemetery, and I saw the truck. I thought, man, that would be really a great picture in nice evening light. So I went back later the night when the sun was in the right position and got this shot with the starburst, and I just like the composition of it a lot.
Nice.
Nice.
And again, this is probably one of the first pictures I took. This is from like 2010, and I've been shooting for about 10 or 12 years. I had the good fortune to travel a lot of places when I was still working. I go to China for a couple weeks, a couple times a year, and I'd always have a weekend in between when I had the opportunity to do, some sightseeing there. So this is obviously the Great Wall. This is about 60 kilometers outside of Beijing, in a section of the wall called Mutianyu. And so you can see this is a picture of the unrestored section of the wall. You can see all the plants growing between the walls and those sorts of things. But I probably spent 6 hours that day hiking up and down the wall, and was just amazed at the engineering and the history of it all. But not technically a great picture, but one that I like a lot.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, John.
Yeah, this is mine, and like I say, when y'all said bring out a favorite picture, I didn't want to bring out any grandkid pictures because some of them might figure out which one I like better. So I picked out photographs that I've taken down in South Texas with Ruth. So this is a Cara photograph from one of the ranches. I think it's a Martin Ranch that I was at down there in South Texas.
Yep, that's the Martin Refuge.
Okay.
That's a great shot, Don.
Thanks.
Yeah, and that's a perch that's set up there?
Well, it's an old dead tree.
Okay.
And the Caracaras like to land on it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then I've never seen this happen before or after I got this photograph. This is a
bronzed cowbird.
It's a cowbird, yeah. And he's doing a courting dance out in the field. And I had a 600 millimeter lens on, and I got everything out of that lens that I could get. And I'm surprised I got the detail that I did, but I've never seen anything like it before or since. It was really cool to watch this bird do its courting dance out in the field.
That's excellent. Wow.
Yeah, that's the bronze cowbird. They're really, they really put on a good show. They hover over the female. And when we watch them in the spring, I'm always encouraging people, I call him Darth Vader because the black mantle and the red eyes, he looks like Darth Vader. So they know when I say, oh, here comes Darth Vader, everybody looks and everybody tries to get shots of him doing this. Very nice.
That's neat. Yeah. It's good angle.
And then you can't have one of Ruth's photographs without a paraloxia and a cardinal in it. And so this one here, they're discussing about who's going to get the food out of the cactus flower.
Yeah, that's nice.
It looks to me like they're playing slap and tickle myself.
You scratch with your back, I'll scratch.
Yeah. I think it was a little more aggressive than that. You should have seen the next two images that I got. That cardinal was almost upside down, bailing out of that position.
Wow.
Okay.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay, Kathy did send a couple of pictures in. She's not here tonight. So I don't know Kathy's family well enough to say who these people are.
I have grandchildren, I think.
Yeah, grandchildren, a daughter or something.
I like the lighting. It's very pretty with that sun, just a little bit of sun on the backlighting.
Yeah, it is nice. It catches the hair nice. And everything else is pretty. It's another one from Kathy, probably on her many trips to Hawaii, I would think.
Yeah.
It says, no, it says Destin, Florida, storm over the
Yeah,
sea.
that's Florida.
Yeah, Destin, Florida. That's pretty with the stars and stuff.
It's nice exposure considering she got the lightning and the stars.
And it's nice to capture a little the house there and stuff. I think
It
does
gives
add
it
a lot
scale,
too.
yeah.
That's very pretty. Okay, this one says Kona, Hawaii, from the sea.
Black Sand Beach, yeah.
You know, big sea turtle.
Sea turtle, yeah.
All right, Steve.
Okay, so I took a little different approach. Favorite pictures, I said there's no way I'm gonna go back to try to figure out which ones are my all-time favorites. So I just looked at ones this year that I took. And so this is from the Humble Rodeo earlier this year, end of January, early February with I think this is a bareback rider, the kid coming out of the chute, and I happened to catch the horse just right. He managed to stay on. I got several really good pictures of him.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how those guys do stay on.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I love these pictures you have.
Yeah, so this one's a little bit different. This is from the Green Oaks Tavern in downtown Humble, little blues bar, and this is the Mighty Orc, and he is an amazing guitarist, and he hit a chord that his facial expression was just, you know, he loved it. So and that place is tough to shoot because of the lighting. So you really have to play around. There's mics everywhere and everybody's getting each other's way and they all move around. So I was happy he was sitting down at one spot and taking it in. So
I like your cropping there. It's really nice because it's, you know, obviously you're at an angle, he's at an angle, but it pulls you into the shot.
Yep. And then this last pick is recently up in Belle Fourche, South Dakota from a couple weeks ago. It's an outdoor rodeo, and it's like one of the best mid-sized rodeos in the country. And got a bunch of good shots of this rider, Native American rider, got a feather in his cap, and this horse just launched high, up and down and up and down, and he was hanging on for all of his worth.
Look how high it is off the ground.
Yeah.
It's a nice advertising shot since you can say round up and Belle Fourche at the bottom.
Yep.
Then there's a bottle of Coca-Cola there. Okay, good. No, that was good. Let's see. Okay, Tim.
All right. Well, much like Steve, I wasn't going to go through and pick all my favorites. I think I've probably already shown you guys a lot of those. So I went with my favorites from one of the last trips we went on. The favorite scenery shots anyway. So this was a cruise we went on. Disney Cruise is their private island, and that's the Disney Dream in the background. Just a nice, peaceful place to be.
Yeah.
Oops. Let's see. Why did I just?
Oh, you're gonna. Yeah, you might end up with
the second. Okay. There you go.
All right. Same thing. Same. These are all from that same trip. Actually, this was the last day at sea we had, and we usually go for the second seating at dinner. And during the first seating, mostly because during the first seating is when the sun sets, everyone's either at a show or at dinner. So it's a nice, peaceful time to wander the boat with a glass of wine and a camera.
Yeah.
That was just heading back into Florida.
You got the hot tubs empty.
Yeah, that's actually like the teen club. So I could also spy on my kids to see if they're down there.
Okay.
Okay. Like everybody else, I struggled with figuring out what my favorites were too. So I've got 3 favorite moments. This is shortly after Angie and I stepped on the Antarctic continent for the first time. And I love this shot. I call it Smile. You know, she's all bundled up in her Arctic gear. It's snowing. She's pulled out the American flag. To commemorate this, you can see our expedition ship in the background. Very simple composition, but it's just one of my favorites.
Nice.
And this one here, this is a baptism ceremony that I actually photographed in a pool in a hotel in Lagos, Nigeria. And I loved the almost serene look on the woman's face as she's going into baptism by immersion. But I also like the fact that as her back of her head touched the water, it actually created this ripple effect that almost looked like a halo around her head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the competition wasn't that good.
Yeah,
I finally had to throw a cute shot in here. I was shooting a Easter egg hunt a few years back, and this little girl, she was all decked out and ready for the hunt. She is so cute, and the way the composition captured everybody behind it, all the Easter eggs everywhere. She wandered out before they actually started it. She walked down the field to kind of get a head start on everybody else. But she was ready. She was ready.
It's a cute shot, really cute.
Okay, I guess that's it. That looks like it's the end of that. Let me get to the last slide here. Okay, we're talking next meeting's August 16th. Program's going to be properly equipped macro photographer with Mike Moats. Share and learn. The themes, August is going to be summer. I imagine there'll be some really hot pictures. In September, fill the frame. All right. Anyways, thank you all for joining us tonight. That was very good. Appreciate it. We had good turnout.
You know, when I was on this trip, I was using a zoom lens on the road, and if I zoomed in on my photographs, there was this ripple effect from the heat.
Yeah.
You know, when you zoomed in, you're looking for noise, but you're seeing ripples from the heat.
Yep, that's. Anyways, well, thank you guys. Good night, I guess. We'll see you next
Thank
month.
you, Ruth.
Thanks, Ruth. Thanks for leading us through, Chuck.
Sorry, a second. We have some.
Thanks, Chet.
Before we go, if people are still there, I did look up that picture with the resplendent Quetzal, and I can show you this. Okay, let me share the screen real quick because I've got it ready to go. Okay, so this is the picture that we were talking about, and it bugs me when I don't know the answer to a question, so I looked it up. And so it was my 600 millimeter lens, ISO 1600, 1250th of a second, and f5. So those were my camera settings. It was just this past December. So there you go.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Very nice.
Thanks.
It's great to see you all.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Ruth.
Thank you,
Meeting,
Ruth.
and if anybody's free tomorrow, we do our lunch thing, I think, at the usual time, our lunch meeting. So come and have a lunch talk with us.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.